Okay, so you're looking at how to become a videographer. Maybe you just picked up your first camera, you got yourself a tripod, and you're ready to get started. Let me tell you where to go from here. First off, welcome to my channel. My name is Julian, aka Visulian, part of Visulian Films, my company. I am a professional videographer slash filmmaker. I make commercial and artistic works. I have to start off by saying that there are many avenues that you can go down when it comes in terms to videography. So you can do, like, let's say commercial videography or interviews, artistic, which is like music videos and films, weddings, and like many more things. Anything I say in this video isn't necessarily going to cover every aspect of all of these different avenues and all aspects of videography in general. That just isn't possible. But what you can take from this video is general things that you can apply here and there depending on what you're doing. So let's start off with the basics. You obviously need to start off knowing your camera settings. You have frame rate, ISO, aperture, and shutter speed. I'm sure you've heard this before, but I'm just gonna give you a quick rundown of what these mean. So frames per second, that just means how fast your footage is being shot per second. So the higher it is, the more clips or individual images are being taken per second during your video. Shutter speed is just gonna be how long your shutter, which is the thing that when you take a picture, clicks open and closed. That is just gonna be how long your shutter's open. Now during video, if you're using a digital camera, it stays open obviously, but this term is used to apply to how smooth your footage will be or how jumpy it'll be depending on your frame rate and shutter speed. Generally, rule of thumb, your shutter speed is going to be double your frame rate. Yeah. ISO is going to be how much light you let into the scene. So if you have a brightly lit scene like I do here, you're not going to want to use too much ISO. You can go all the way up to 6400 on most cameras, but you never want to go above maybe a couple thousand, because after that your footage is going to look noisy, and that's how you get grain, because you don't have that much detail that your camera's trying to pick up. So you want to use lighting as much as you can, but when you can't, higher that ISO just a little bit. So aperture, you can adjust that by adjusting the f-stop, which is what the aperture measurement is called. That is going to be f/ whatever your number is. So usually it goes down to about 1.8, 1.7 on most cameras, depending on the lens you have obviously, but it can go all the way up to 28. The lower your aperture, the higher your depth of field is. Right now my aperture is at around 2 something, so that means that I am generally pretty sharp in focus, whereas the background is pretty blurry. It could be blurry if I turn it down a little bit. The lower it is, the more depth of field you have, and the lower it is, the more light you let into the scene, because the iris is more widely open. If your aperture is higher, that means less light is going to be able to make it through your iris, which is going to be more tightly closed, and make it into your camera's sensor. That will mean you have a darker scene, obviously, and that will also mean that the higher your aperture is, the more stuff will be in focus. So if I lowered my aperture right now, the focus on me would become a little bit sharper, and if I highered it, the whole entire room would be focused eventually. Okay, so now you know how to work the settings of your camera, and you know how to hit the record button and know what you're looking for when adjusting your settings. Now you might be wondering, what kind of gear should I use? And that can vary depending on which type of videography you're gonna do, but generally these are a few things that all videographers should have in their back pocket for whatever. You're just starting out, so I'm assuming you just have a camera, maybe a tripod, and maybe a microphone if you're lucky. But if not, I'll give you a few things that you might want to acquire over time, if not right away, to get your production level just a little bit higher. Number one key thing that sets apart amateur videographers from professional videographers is going to be stabilization. You never see a professional videographer not using a tripod, a gimbal, a glide cam, a slider, anything like that, unless the situation calls for it, because nobody likes to look at shaky footage. If you look at any amateur videographer like myself back in the day, I didn't have a gimbal or any type of stabilization device. So your footage will be shaky, and starting off, you're probably not gonna have steady hands. So you definitely wanna get your hands on some type of stabilization, or just practice moving as steady as you can until you're able to work your way up. I know personally that Premiere Pro, as well as Final Cut and other editing softwares, I'm assuming, have a stabilization effect. So if you are as steady as you can be with your hands, you can also just add that little bit more stabilization in post. Now, I'm not saying it's gonna look as good as if you had a stabilizer in the first place, but it definitely can get the job done if you do it right. Now, as far as gear that you're gonna wanna get, whether it be right now or later on, you're gonna wanna start off with a tripod, obviously besides the camera, because that is just gonna be your best friend. Nobody's gonna take you seriously if you don't show up to this shoot with a tripod. Beyond that, lighting gear is gonna be key. That's what I'm using right now. I have 2 lighting setups right now. One is a hair light and one is a key light. Microphone to record audio. You can get a lavalier mic on Amazon for 50 bucks or even cheaper, or you can get a Rode mic for $250. Really depends on what type of thing you're trying to record. I'm using a shotgun mic that is going to be a cardioid mic, which only records me and some general noise in the background. Besides that, a microphone is going to be really good. You can't forgive bad audio. People can forgive bad visuals depending on how bad they are, but no one can forgive bad audio. If you're recording and the audio just sounds terrible, nobody's going to watch your video. A handheld gimbal is going to also be your best friend, because that is going to allow you to move around and get stable footage. That is how professional videographers can move from point A to point B with having zero shakiness on their footage, because they have a gimbal. And beyond that, the rest is up to you. I mean, various lenses are good for different reasons. That's just up to your research. I would say look into that on your own, but other than that, anything else you get, that's up to you. But as far as basics, those are going to be key. So now you've got the gear. Now you know how to work your camera. Now you ask, how do I start my business? Well, first things first, you have to get into the industry. You may know how to work the camera, but in reality, you don't know how to work the camera. And what I mean by that is that you can't go onto a shoot and direct a whole entire set and just know what you're doing right off the bat because you know how to work an ISO. That's just not how it works. You need experience. Now, personally, what I did about 3 years ago when I first started was looking for marketing companies that were hiring photographers and videographers. I started off as marketing myself as both because I already knew how to work it and I already had the experience from photography and videography, so I could market myself that way. But if you just want to do videography, stick to that because that is going to allow you to get the clientele that you specifically want. Now, this can apply whether you want to become a wedding videographer or a commercial artist or anything like that. What you do here is look for businesses who are hiring you to make those type of videos. Wedding companies, I know from experience, are a little bit more picky on who they choose, especially if you don't have a reel to back you up. But contact any local wedding videographers and just ask them, hey, can I shadow you for a day? Can I follow you? Can I help you carry your bags? Just watch them and see what they do, even if it's for free. And that way you'll learn. Now, what I did, like I said before, was work for a small startups marketing company called Social Loudspeaker. And what this company allowed me to do was take my equipment and my gear and make videos for businesses like that, because they would reach out to businesses and businesses would want videos from them. And then I would go to the business and shoot promotional videos and photos for their business, their Instagram, their website, and stuff like that. And that's how I got started off working in the business. Now, during this time, I was also doing small stuff for my family and friends. Say if my friends wanted to do a photo shoot, I would go shoot for them for free and they would post it on Instagram and give me credit, and that would also tell people that I do this type of stuff. Or if it was like, let's say an event like a birthday party or an engagement party, like for example, my family would contact me because they know that I do that type of stuff. So tell them, hey, I'm looking to try to do some stuff. Do you have anything that you want me to record? Blah, 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 blah. From then on and thereforth, you get the experience you need and you didn't really waste that much time. Doing these two things, finding internships and free work and anything like that, is definitely just the fastest way and the easiest way to get your experience and foothold in the business as early on as possible. So now you want to start your own business. Well, what every professional videographer, including myself, has is a portfolio. Nobody's going to take you seriously if they don't see what you've done in the past. Now, if you worked for a company, maybe you can ask them, hey, any videos that I've done for you, can I get maybe a couple of them, even if it's just a snippet of it to show on my website or my portfolio, so that way people can come to your website or wherever you post your work and they can see what you've done in the past. More likely than not, unless it's a friend or somebody like that, nobody's gonna hire you if they can't see what you've done before. If they can't see what level of quality and what type of work you do and what type of work pertains to their specific needs, they're not gonna look into you, they'll just go elsewhere. But if you have yourself a website or portfolio, that is the best way to display your work and let people know that you're a serious videographer. Now, personally, I use Wix to make my own website because I know nothing about coding, but I can make my own website on there. And that will show off my work, get people to contact me and know about me and all that stuff. And it'll also link to my social media, including my Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and stuff like that. So what I recommend you do is, whether it be posting videos on YouTube just to have a collection of your work, because that's also been done in the past. You don't necessarily have to make a website, or Instagram or Facebook. Do that. Collect all your work in one area. Don't mix it in with your personal stuff. Like if you have an Instagram, I'd say create a separate Instagram just for your work, so people can look at your stuff and just know what you do and focus only on that. If you don't have a portfolio, you're not getting anywhere. But now you ask, how do I get clients? Well, the easiest way to do that is social media. You don't have to necessarily pay for ads for people to see your stuff. Make a YouTube channel, post your videos there, even if it's just posting your short film and leaving it at that. You don't have to make videos like this, talking and all that stuff. Just post your stuff so people can see it. The more people see your stuff, the more people you're likely to hire you. And definitely make sure in the title or description of wherever you're posting your stuff, you put your area. Nobody's gonna see your video from California or wherever you live and notice that, oh, he lives in this area, so I'm gonna hire him. They don't know where you are and they don't know anything about you. Like me personally, I always put Philadelphia in my location tag on my Instagram posts, just so that anybody who comes to my page, if they look at any one of my posts, they see that I'm from Philadelphia. And that way, if they're local to the area, they can hire me if they want to, because they know where I'm at. Otherwise, if I didn't put that, they wouldn't know if I lived in Maine, Florida, California. They would have no idea unless they contacted me. But that just takes it the easiest step forward by already having that information out there. Now, one thing I really want to get across is that when you're first starting out, you're not going to make money. More often than not, people don't realize that the best way to gain experience and clients is to work for free or very low rates. When I first started out working at my videography company, or my marketing company, I should say, I was only making 50 bucks per shoot, and that was a flat rate. But that included me driving almost 45 minutes to an hour away for the location, shooting for a few hours, driving all the way back home, editing for a few hours, and then sending that off to the company. All of that for $50. Now granted, that's not free. It's a very low rate, but it's not free, so I did make some money at the time. And that's just how it works. You don't have the credibility when you're first starting up to charge $3,000 per every shoot to make such a big profit off of every shoot, because nobody's gonna pay that much for something they don't even know about. A little bit of information I think I should share with you is that you gotta be prepared to always learn more. There are so many things to learn when it comes to videography and filmmaking that it's impossible for you to know all of it. If you stay comfortable in the position you're in now, or currently, or in the future, you're never going to be able to grow past that point. Being in the mindset that you can grow and learn and always improve no matter how big you are is the mindset to have. And honestly, that's gonna let you charge more. What I'm trying to say is always be prepared to learn and study and look at everything online and do your research and watch your videos and even take courses, and just do what you have to do to improve your craft, because ultimately that's just what's gonna help you grow better. I'd say the hardest thing when you're first starting out is that you don't know what you don't know. So taking what you already know and trying to find out the new information that you don't know, if that makes sense, it's impossible. When I first started out in videography, I'd had so much time spent researching because I didn't know what to even look for in the first place. Now granted, I had classes and stuff, but from then on, it's hard to know what you're looking for when you don't even know what to look for, if that makes sense. Hopefully this video gave you a little bit of insight in how to start off and how to branch out from your business. Now, I know I covered a very general idea of videography, and what you're looking for is probably very specific, but hopefully you can take away some parts of this video and apply it to what you're looking for. My last and final tip is that you have to keep creating. Even if you're not working a job, take your camera or take your phone and just go film something, even if you don't have to. Just do it. That is gonna give you so much more experience than just waiting for the next project. If you take your own time and dedicate time to learning the passion, you'll be able to better understand it when you have your next job and do your next job, because you've already done it on your own time. You can only learn something by doing it. You can watch this video and think you know everything all of a sudden, which I didn't explain everything, but doing it in practice is what's really gonna nail it down and really get you to where you wanna be. But that is gonna do it for me, guys. I hope I made some sense in this video describing everything I went through, and I hope you learned something from this video. If you did, feel free. I would really appreciate it if you guys dropped a like on this video, even subscribing, because I will be coming out with some more content in the future that hopefully you can learn from my experience as a professional videographer. And yeah, that has been me, Julian, aka Visulian, and I'll see you guys in the next video.